Okay, so hi everyone. My name's Leanne, and you may remember me from such conventions as TFNation 2019. So I put it up on Facebook that I wanted to do a video to go through sort of my thoughts and feelings about the convention from the point of view of actually working it. And you all seemed really keen. So I recorded one yesterday, but it was ridiculously long. So I'm gonna try and make this shorter. Speak fast, speak very fast. So yeah, without further ado, here's my experience of TFNation. Okay, so it all started a couple of months ago when David, who I work really closely with in regards to a pantomime society that I run, came up to me and said, "Oh, Leanne, I do this Transformers convention and, you know, we've got a lot of guests this year and a lot of panels and I could really use somebody else to, you know, host the panels alongside me and Patrina." And I went, "I'll do it. Yep, I'll do it." Without really thinking it through, to be honest. I didn't have any idea what I was in for. So, you know, he checked with Billy and the entire team and was like, "Leanne, woo." And they were like, "Yay." So that was how I got the gig. And so, yeah, I didn't really think much about it. I just kind of knew that it was this far distant thing in the future that I was doing. And then it got to August. And suddenly it was around the corner and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I've said I'll do it. And, you know, then my story jumps a bit to the Saturday before TFNation. And I am getting ready for a wedding. I have my nice dress on, not this one, this is not a dress. Have my nice dress on, but that's it. My hair is gross. I have no makeup. I'm literally just wearing a dress, about to get ready. And there's a knock on my door. In fact, there's not a knock on my door. David just walks in because that's what he does. So he walks in and he goes, "Leanne, come outside." And I'm like, all right. So I grabbed my trainers, and so I'm wearing a lovely trainer dress ensemble, and standing outside my house is Peter Spellos. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me? Like, seriously? You bring Peter Spellos to my house while you know I am getting ready for a wedding, and I'm meeting Peter Spellos for the first time in a dress and trainer combination that, yeah, my fashion sense, not great, but even I know that was not a great idea. Anyway, so that was the first time I ever met Peter Spellos. Then we spent like the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, we spent the next 2 days kind of getting to know each other. I talked about my life, he talked about his, told me lots of stories, you know, about Danny DeVito, Sigourney Weaver, Bruce Willis. Lots of stories about owning a comedy club in New York. So we really got to know each other. We developed quite a close bond. So on the Wednesday, we drive down to TFNation. And I was quite upset, actually, because it was the first time I've ever left my boyfriend. So that was sad. But we got to the hotel. Took our stuff upstairs, managed to get an executive room, thanks. Which was even funnier because David and Grace did not manage to get an executive room. Anyway, so yeah, came down to the bar and David calls me over. Lots of people I didn't know. David calls me over and he goes, "Leanne, I'd like you to meet somebody." And I went over and I went, "Hi, I'm Leanne." And suddenly, out of this man, came the voice of Eeyore. And I'm a big Eeyore fan. I have my cuddly Eeyores. I have a plethora, if you will, of Eeyores. And so, so that was how I first met Greg Berger. And that was probably the only time during the con where I actually was a little bit starstruck, because I'm like, oh my God, it's Eeyore. And it's Nina. Look, he signed. Look, he signed an Eeyore for me. So I was very pleased with that. Anyway, so that was meeting Greg Berger. Lovely, lovely guy. Chatted to him for a while. And that was Wednesday. We went up to Billy's room, and oh, hold on, my MOT's ringing. Well, that was a fun call. £150 on my MOT. Excellent. Anyway, where was I up to? So yeah, that was the Wednesday night. Thursday, what did I do? I can't even remember much of what I did on Thursday. I got shown around the hotel, because obviously I'd never done it before. This was the morning, and I got shown, the first thing I got shown was the pavilion, which was great. You know, as I said, I run a pantomime society, and you know, we play to about 120 people overnight time. So I walked in and I'm like, I can do this. This is fine. I'm used to stages like this. I'm used to this amount of audience. Excellent. So yeah, that was all right. And then I got taken to Monarch, which is where the Trader Hall was, and I stood in the doorway and I went, oh God, because that room was huge. The nerves started kicking in a little bit there, I must admit. And then David took me to King's, and they were busy putting the stage up. And that was when I panicked, because, you know, as I said, David and I worked together on Panto quite a lot. I have never in my life performed, been on stage in that big a room in front of that many people. And obviously you've all seen the stage now. That was when it dawned on me that this was going to be nothing like Panto. This was not an amateur production. This was big. It was professional. And I was terrified, genuinely terrified. So I spent the rest of the day, I said to David, look, this is, oh God, you know, I don't know if I can do this. This is big. This is really big. And so he said, it's okay, you'll be fine. A lot of people told me that. It's okay, you'll be fine. But I didn't really believe them on that Thursday. So I said, right, okay, can we find somewhere where we can go and prep for my panels and what I'm supposed to do? And he went, yeah. So we went and we found a room, and we prepped for my panels, right? So because I was very nervous, I like to work from a script. So these are my little bits of script. I have one for every panel that I did, and about 4 for the opening ceremony, because that was a big deal. So we have, you know, Steve and Dave Mapes' introduction for the Visionaries panel, comedy improv. That's the running order for the opening ceremony. Boulder Media, Mary's Meals and Toy Foo, opening ceremony intro for Peter Spellos. The exclusives for, so basically, yeah, every panel that I did had one of these. So we spent a lot of the day doing that, and the rest of the day we spent finishing editing the animated series 4, because he only got some of the recordings on the Wednesday when we got there, so there was still 2 voice actors that hadn't put their stuff in. So I read the lines out to him, told him where they were supposed to go, and he put them in. So that was Thursday, and then Thursday evening, we went out to TGI Fridays with Jeff and Chris McFeely and Grace and David, obviously, and Jim Sorensen, who lent me his cowboy hat so I could have a photo. And I remember being in TGI Fridays and not being able to talk. And any of you who have met me over the weekend know that that really isn't a problem for me. I talk a lot, but I couldn't get my words out. I felt sick because a lot of people put their faith in me this weekend. You know, David put his faith in me when he said, you know, you can do this. He put his name on the line with Billy and Turnbull and the entire crew by recommending me. And they put a lot of faith in me to deliver this show that was worthy of all of you. And that puts a lot of pressure on a person. And I've dealt in the past a lot with anxiety, panic attacks, and you know, I met one person this weekend who I spoke to about it and said, you know, I used to have panic attacks going to the shop to buy butter. So this was a big deal for me. I didn't want to let anyone down. I didn't want to let David down. I didn't want to let the crew down. And I didn't want to let you down. So I was terrified because this was much bigger than I had ever anticipated. So I was sitting in TGI Fridays and I was silent. And that was probably one of the hardest parts of the weekend for me, that Thursday evening in TGI's. Until Jim Sorensen liberated me a frying basket. Yes, sorry, I had to tell the story. I've been looking for a frying basket to fry chips for ages and ages, haven't been able to find one, and Jim Sorensen nicked one from TGI's for me. So I have my very own frying basket now, so thanks, Jim. So anyway, yeah, we get back after TGI's and we go and sit in the bar, but I felt very out of place. I didn't know anyone, so I went to bed. Friday, I woke up and I spent my entire morning in my bedroom drilling my lines, drilling these over and over and over again for the Visionaries panel. And I was going over and over and over it, and every time I was forgetting something, I was, you know, I was getting really frustrated with myself. I went down, we were in the pavilion, and me and David had a rehearsal beforehand where we were talking about the Visionaries and he was testing me on it. And a little secret story as well. We were standing in front, on that stage, in front of a load of empty chairs, and he went, "Leanne, visionary," and I went, "A vision is scary. It's not a revolution, polluting the airwaves." And anyway, we ended up rapping the whole of Eminem, so that was really funny. That's something that you guys didn't get to see. But it was so tempting when I was doing the Visionaries panel. Every time somebody said visionary, I was like, "A vision is scary. It's not a revolution, polluting the airwaves." Anyway, so yeah, that was that calmed me down a little bit. We did the sort of welcome and meet the team thing on the Friday, which calmed me down because on stage is where I am most natural, I suppose. Once I got over my stage fright, which is a real thing. Like, I really do have stage fright. So once I did the welcome, I was all right, and then I did my Visionaries, word for word, what it said on here. And then I pretty much, for the rest of the day, I went up and I helped David finish off the animated thing for the Saturday night. And I spoke to Chris McFeely. Not Chris McFeely. Chris Finney. Too many Chris's. I spoke to Chris Finney for like an hour and a half, and he was really interesting because he was telling me all about the technical side of voice recording, and he did a bit of voice recording for the animated file on that Friday, and I was watching his mouth as he was doing it, and it was like, and he was really enunciating, And I was like, that's incredible. I've never seen anything like that. You know, he was really kind of forcing the words out and making sure that they were loud, and he was doing like 2 or 3 takes one after the other, and they all sounded different, and it was absolutely fascinating. So I asked him a lot about that, and he was talking about having to do these death gurgles, and how his voice often kind of, well, is when he's doing the screaming at which is the last thing to be recorded, you know, his voice can disappear. And you know, so I chatted to him for like a good hour and a half, and he was wonderfully interesting. A Friday night, I marked the quiz. My good grief, there was a lot of you entered. So like sitting, going, marking, trying to get it all done before the end of the next panel, so we can announce who won. And then yeah, I pretty much went up to bed, had a glass of wine, and panicked about the Saturday, because the Saturday, the opening ceremony, really big thing. We'd had a rehearsal on the Friday night after the quiz, where we got to see the opening video and the health and safety video for the first time, and they were awesome, but just made me feel much worse, like, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh God, what if I mess this up? I cannot mess this up. I have got to do well here. There are so many people relying on me, especially Toy Fu and Mary's Meals, because I was making that announcement. So I was terrified I was going to mess this up for somebody. So Saturday morning, we came down at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock. Had breakfast, went back into the King's room to rehearse the opening ceremony again. Went through that a couple of times with various bits and pieces and things changing and what have you. And then it was time to go. And the fear of God was in me as I was standing backstage. But it was nice because I got to meet some of the guests that I hadn't already met. So I met Brian Drummond and I met Marty Eisenberg, and I was having a chat with them. And then the music intro for the hosts started, and my heart is going ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. I feel like I'm gonna die. And David goes, right, go, because I was the first on. I was the first person to run on stage. David goes, go. So I went.
I don't know about you two, but that's literally the coolest sentence I'm ever going to have in my entire life. How are we? Well, nobody showed up.
Can we hear you a bit louder? We said hello!
That's a little bit.
Yeah!
I like that lady.
Thank you!
And it was fine. Like, I was in front of more people than I'd ever been in front of in my life. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I had such a good time. I didn't mess it up, I don't think. I had such a good time. And the response from the audience was just incredible. They were yelling and they were shouting, and, you know, it felt like a panto on drugs. It was amazing. Panto on drugs, probably can't say that, but it felt amazing. Like, so we come off stage and I'm like, wow, that was incredible. And he went, yeah, wait for this. And then we opened the door so that you could all go to the merch hall, and we walked down towards the merch hall, and I've never seen so many people queuing in one area in my life. That was insane. So the next panel I did, because I just kind of, I didn't have any time for anything. I was running from one panel to another, and when I wasn't doing panels, there was announcements in the merch hall, and there was coffee to be gotten for various people, and food to be found. You know, I got many a hot dog on the run. So I didn't really have time for a break. The first big panel I introduced was the Boulder Media panel, and the guys for that, they were lovely. They were so lovely. But one of them in particular was extraordinarily nervous. So I was sitting chatting to him and going, "Don't worry, it'll be fine. I've never done this before either. You'll be fine. You'll get through it." So that was lovely, having a chat with them, getting to introduce them. That was my first big panel. In the afternoon, I did the comedy improv tutorial with Peter Spellos, and it was great because we were just sitting there, like, just chatting as you all came in. There was about 10 people in there when we got there, and we were just chatting to them and having a laugh and making jokes, and that was really quite wonderful. And I didn't feel the need to introduce him because by this point I had gotten comfortable on the stage and I'd kind of thrown out them and gone, nah, sod it. Let's just roll with it, see what happens. So I didn't feel the need to introduce him. I'm just like, Peter Spellos. Ta-da! And yeah, we had a chat on the stage, and then he was teaching us about improv, sort of the do's and don'ts of improv, and got people up to have a go, which was really amusing.
Things to do in Newcastle. Begin.
Fish and chips. Drink. Go swimming.
Drink some more.
Give up.
Give them a round of applause.
So that was my panels on the Saturday. Saturday evening. Saturday evening was ClubCon. Yeah, ClubCon. Wow. Like, because I knew what was coming, all I wanted to see, I just wanted to see your reactions. I was waiting for it. And watching your reactions to what happened on that Saturday evening, that just brought so much joy to me. Because I had watched David, you know, I live close by him, I had been hearing about this. I know how hard he worked. He threw his blood, sweat and tears into that animated script reading. He went backwards and forwards with the original cast. You know, he had been editing for weeks and it had literally only been finished that afternoon. I know how hard he worked on that. So to watch all of your reaction and then for him to get a standing ovation at the end, like that was just perfect. It was so perfect for me, because he deserves every tiny bit of applause that he got there, because he worked really, really hard to bring that to you. Oh, I'm getting emotional. And I'm fine. Right. So yeah, he worked really, really hard. So that was incredible. ClubCon was just amazing, followed by the Improvicons, who were bloody hilarious. I'd never seen Peter in his natural habitat before, but that was just wonderful to behold. It was brilliant, very, very funny. And then I went to bed because I was wrecked, absolutely wrecked, because you don't realise how hard it is. You're running from panel to panel. You're on your feet 8 hours a day. You don't really get to sit down much. And it's a fantastic experience, but it's bloody tiring. So Sunday I got up, we did our little welcome. David wore his I don't give up shorts. And we did our little welcome thing. By this point, my nerves had pretty much disappeared. I then had a little bit of time, so I went and got my book signed. So this is Chris Finney down here. Who else have we got? Greg Berger, there, and Brian Drummond, the one and only, the Peter Spellos, Marty Eisenberg as well. And then somewhere in the back here, we have, it's the Frying Basket Liberator himself, it's Jim Sorensen. So yeah, I got them signed. And then I had my voiceover and out panel with Brian Drummond, Greg Berger and Peter Spellos, and that was fab. You know, we just had a bit of a chat, and it was great. I got everybody in the audience doing vocal warm-ups. So we were going, what is it? The lips, the teeth, the tongue, the lips, the teeth, the tongue. And Greg did like a 40-second tongue twister about thistles. And I'm going to turn to the audience and I'm like, all right, your turn. Got a big laugh. And then Brian Drummond did something with the alphabet, which I cannot replicate because it was yeah, I can't replicate it. I have no idea what he was doing, but it was interesting. Oh, and we had Greg Berger jumping off a cliff as a man on fire, so that was great. I didn't have long to prep after that panel. That panel, though, that was a wonderful moment for me at the end of it. There was a girl who came up to me, her name is Ali, I think it is, who was in tears because of the joy and because we were what we were bringing to her. And that was such a wonderful moment for me because I had been so focused on my fear and what was going on in my head and my nervousness that I hadn't really considered that other people might be feeling the same way. You know, it's very intimidating and very overwhelming when there's a large group of people that you don't know. And she was in bits because, you know, thanking us because we were doing this wonderful thing. And she has since apologized for crying on my t-shirt, which I really don't care about. Like, please, God, cry on my t-shirt. That's such a wonderful thing. You know, this is the kind of thing that brings people together. So I gave her a hug, and that was just a wonderfully beautiful moment. So I'm really happy that she came up to us and thanked us, and, you know, that I could give her that hug and say, it's okay. We all feel like this. Didn't have much time to prepare. I had like half an hour or so once I got over to the other end before I did my big panel with Peter Spellos in the King's Room. Now Peter and I, we'd spent a week together. We were really, really close. We are really, really close. Peter, you're like my best friend ever. You're absolutely wonderful. And we had spent a long time confiding in each other and what have you. And so we knew each other really well going into that panel. And yes, okay, I was asking him questions, and I did go, he asked me to ask the tough questions, so I did go tougher than I was expecting to go. But what was lovely about that was that he was able to be vulnerable, and he was able to open up and show everyone there who Peter Spellos really is. So that was a really lovely moment for me and him to be able to share together. And the standing ovation he got when we stood up at the end was a moment that I'll never forget. That was such a wonderful moment. And I know that me and Peter are going to stay in touch, but I hope that it came across to those who came to see the panel just how well we actually get on with each other, because we just bounce off each other. It's brilliant. So I did my panel with Peter, and then it came to the end, and we did the closing ceremony. And as the video that had been playing at the opening ceremony was playing, like, I was getting teary because I was like, oh God, it's coming to an end and I've enjoyed myself so much. So yeah, that was quite an emotional moment for me. And then we come back up on stage and I get to announce that Toy Fu smashed the 50K. So that was because obviously I'd announced them at the beginning when I was also. So yeah, and then I got to announce at the end that they smashed the record and smashed the 50K. So that was a brilliant moment. What a wonderful, wonderful company they are, doing what they do. Wonderful company. So yeah, that was amazing. And then we walked off stage for the final time to a standing ovation. I walk over to the AV desk and I break down, crying, so much crying, because at the beginning of this weekend, the biggest thing for me was don't let anybody down. And over the weekend, I met so many people who came up to me and said, "You're doing a really great job." And you know, it's always nice to hear, especially when you're scared and when you don't know if you're going to be able to do it and deal with it. It's really amazing to have people come up to you and say, "You're doing all right." So I got off that stage and I bawled my eyes out because I was like, I've done it. I've done it, and it's been this amazing, incredible experience. And I went over to Peter and I just gave him this massive hug and I cried into his shoulder, and he whispered, he's mentioned this on his Facebook, but he whispered words to me that, you know, I'll never forget, but they're very secret, so I'm not going to tell you them. But we just held on to each other and cried, and it was a really special moment, because all of this, it's so overwhelming, you know, to do this and be part of this and to do something that brings so much joy to people. It's overwhelming. Yeah, that was a really special part of the weekend for me. But yeah, so Sunday night, the entire crew went out for a meal, which was lovely. Got to talk to people that I hadn't had time to chat to much. And then, yeah, went back to the hotel, went into the bar for like the first time all weekend, was chatting to loads and loads of people. I met Stephen, who has the same syndrome, weird thing that is really rare that I have. So that was amazing, because I've never met anyone. So we were able to talk about it and compare notes. So that was really incredible. I met, who else did I meet? I've got a list. My list is over there. Damn, I should have come prepared. I met Nicola. There we go. Crawl back onto my bed. I met Nicola, and we had a good chat, because she also suffers from anxiety, so we had a good chat about that and how it's possible to overcome anxiety, because I still get my moments, but you know, for the most part I've managed to overcome that. So it was really great talking to her and being able to give her some hope, and say, no, don't worry, it just get better, I promise. And I met a guy called Rob, who I chatted for a really long time to, about family and about kids. Met Rojas, who is hilarious. I met so many people, it's impossible to name them all, but on that Sunday night, that was when I met everyone, and that was when I got this feeling of just joy, completely overwhelming joy, because I didn't know what to expect coming into this convention. But I'll tell you what I didn't expect. I didn't expect to see hundreds and hundreds of people of all ages, all genders, all races, all bodies, like able-bodied, non-able-bodied, you know. And I didn't expect them to all be together, and nobody cared. Everybody just was loving each other and playing with toys in a bar and just having this really amazing time and sharing this amazing experience together. And to be part of something that has brought all of these people together, you know, people with mental health issues, people with physical ailments, people who as shy and awkward. It brought everyone together. There was not one person that I saw that was standing at that bar by themselves. And that for me is what TFN 2019 was all about. It wasn't about my nerves and getting to meet some, you know, some people that I would never have even dreamed of meeting, you know, all the guests. It wasn't about the standing ovations. It was about the special moments, and it was about seeing all these people come together through a mutual interest. And I said to David, this is incredible. Look what we do for people. It's not about the panels. It's not about the toys. It's not about the guests. I mean, it is a little about those things, admittedly, but it's about bringing people together. And to say that I've been a part of something like that just brings me so much joy and so much happiness. And I'm truly honoured to have been a part of that. So I want to thank all of you, because I've come home from this a changed person. I've come home from this with faith in myself, with confidence, with an appreciation for everything that went on there. But I've also come home from this with a lot of new friends and a big community of people. And I've completely changed my life plan in the last 2-3 days. And that's thanks to TFN. Peter Spellos said some words on stage, which I'm paraphrasing, but he said, you know, if this is what you like to do, you'll never make it. If this is who you are, then you've got a chance. And this is who I am. So to all the people that went to TFN, and to all the organisers, you've changed my life. And I cannot thank you enough for it. I'm coming back. It's all been sorted, so I'm coming back. I'll be back next year. And what can I say? I can't wait to see you all again. You mental bunch. So guys, I will see you next August. Bye.
Straight out of Icon, I've been scribing on Cybertron since before the primes first turned their high beams on. Right along with the pride of Ironhide, I'll be kind, recording everything like rewind. I am the Allspark Alpha to Zeta Prime, Diaclone way ahead of my time, Optimus Primal, transforming with a monkey on my spinal, Stunticons junkie on.